Get your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.teachucomp.com/free.
In QuickBooks, you can use the Easy Step interview to quickly and easily create your company file. You complete the Easy Step interview by entering information into the different screens shown within the interview. Once you have filled in the information in a screen, you can click the Next button to proceed to the next screen. Once you have answered all of the questions, click the Finish button to create your company file and start using QuickBooks. If questions arise that you must answer and you're unsure of the correct answer, don't worry, you can usually go back and change your answers later. In most screens, you can simply click the Back button to return to a previous screen and change your answers. Also, if necessary, you can click the Leave button to exit the Easy Step interview. However, if you leave the Easy Step interview prior to saving your company file, then your data entry will be lost. A message box will inform you if this is the case before you exit, so don't worry about remembering this. If you're new to QuickBooks, you should seriously consider setting up a company file that is not your company file, but is similar in nature, a dummy company if you will. That way, you can practice creating transactions that you would be likely to enter into your own company file without placing your actual company file in jeopardy. You can create as many company files in QuickBooks as you would like. Also, if you set up a fake company file, it can be easier to train others in your company in the basic bookkeeping involved with the company without risking the integrity of your actual company's data file. Before you begin entering data in the Easy Step interview, you will need some basic information. First and most importantly, you will need to select a start date for your QuickBooks company file. The start date is the date for which you will enter all of the balances of the accounts used in your company file. Because of this, you may want to pick a date that isn't too far in the past, since you will have to record each transaction that has occurred from the start date through the current date. This will ensure you create a company file that is both financially accurate and also ready for the daily data entry. Many people will choose to use the last day of the last financial period, such as a quarter or a month, as the start date. Remember that you will have to enter all the transactions that have occurred from the start date through the current date, or at least accurate journal entries representing the transaction values, to use the company file and have accurate balances. So don't go too far into the past if you don't want to spend hours performing data entry. You will also need to know the account balances of your checking, savings, and any other accounts as of your start date. This can often be found on a balance sheet created as of the start date. If that isn't available, bank statements as of the start date can also be used. You will also need to have a Federal Employer Identification Number, or FEIN, or your Social Security number found on your company's tax returns. Once you have all of this information available, you can start the Easy Step interview. To create a company file in QuickBooks, you can begin by selecting File from the menu bar and choosing the New Company command, or you can click the Create a New Company button in the No Company Open dialog box that appears in QuickBooks when there's no company file opened. Doing either of these will bring up the Easy Step interview. In the first screen of the Easy Step interview, you can see the options that you have for creating a company file appear at the right side of the screen. At the left side of the screen is the interview progress meter. As you complete the screens within the Easy Step interview, your overall progress is reflected in this meter. To begin the Easy Step interview and create a new company file, click the Start Interview button at the right side of the screen. In the first screen, labeled Enter Your Company Information, you enter information about your company. Required fields are noted by a red asterisk to the left of the field name. You begin by entering the name of your company into the company name field. You can then move to the next field by simply pressing the Tab key on your keyboard or by clicking into the next field with your mouse. The next field is the legal name field. This is most often the same thing as your company name field, but can be different for DBA businesses. Note that if you have a question about this field, you can click the Explain hyperlink to show an associated help file explaining this field's purpose in a new window. You can read this help file and then close it when you're finished. This type of assistance is everywhere in the Easy Step interview and is found generally throughout the QuickBooks application. Note that you can also click the Get Answers hyperlink in the upper right corner of any screen within the Easy Step interview to open an associated help file regarding the content that is entered into the particular screen. Once again, you can read this information and then close it when you're finished. Help like this is woven throughout the program, so it is almost always available for any screen in QuickBooks, and that's just another great aspect of using this program. Next, you enter either your FEIN or Social Security number as appropriate into the Tax ID field. You then enter your complete street address into the street address field set. You can then enter your city into the city field. You can then select your state from the state drop-down. You can then enter your zip code into the zip field, and if needed, select your country from the country drop-down. You can then enter your phone and your fax into the phone and fax fields using the formatting which you would like to have displayed on your forms within QuickBooks, like your invoices, for example. You can then enter a default email address for the company into the email address field. You can also enter the website address of your company into the website field if you would like. Once you have finished entering your data into this screen, you can then click the Next button to continue. Now in the next screen, titled Select Your Industry, you select the type of company for which you are creating a company file from the list of choices shown. The choice that you make here will affect what features are enabled and what default accounts are placed into your chart of accounts. You can always customize these features later, but selecting an industry from the list will typically reduce the amount of customization required. If your specific industry isn't listed, either select the closest industry listed or select Other or None from the list of choices. An important point to note is that the answer that you make here will change what questions the Easy Step interview will pose to you as you continue. So the questions that are posed to an individual who selects retail shop or online commerce will be different from the questions that would be posed to someone who selects church or religious organization. For example, setting up sales tax would be a part of the Easy Step interview for the retail shop or online commerce selection, but not for the church or religious organization selection. So once you have made your industry selection, click the Next button to continue. The next screen asks how your company is organized. You simply select the option button that corresponds to the legal structure of your company. This assists QuickBooks in choosing accounts for your company's chart of accounts and also in assigning accounts to tax form lines. Once you have made your selection, click the Next button to continue. In the next screen, you select the first month of your fiscal year from the drop-down menu shown. Your fiscal year is quite often the same as your tax year. A fiscal year is simply a 12-month period used for reporting a company's financial status. For many companies, the first month of the fiscal year is January. This allows them to have the fiscal year coincide with the income tax year. Once you've selected the first month in your fiscal year, click the Next button to continue. In the next screen, titled Set Up Your Administrator Password, you can create a password for the administrator account of your company file. The administrator account has access to all of your company's financial information. This is an optional step, and you can create users and assign access privileges at any time. However, if you wish to create a password for the administrator account, You can enter it into both the administrator password and retype password fields. If you do this, make sure that you know what the password is. Also note that passwords you create are case sensitive. When you're ready, click the Next button to continue. In the next screen, called Create Your Company File, you create the actual QuickBooks company file that you will use. This is when you decide what to name the company file and where you will save it. Note this information as you will most likely need it later. When you are ready to save the company file, you can click the Next button to continue. This will launch the file name for New Company dialog box. This is a standard Windows Save As dialog box, so you use it to select the folder into which you want to save the company file. Once you have selected where you want to save the company file, you can then enter the name that you want to give to the company file into the file name field. This defaults to the name of the company, but you can change it if you need to. Once you know where you will save the file and what you will name it, click the Save button to save the company file and return to the Easy Step interview. The next screen that you will see in the Easy Step interview is the Customizing QuickBooks for Your Business screen. This screen informs you that the next several screens will customize your QuickBooks company file by asking you questions about your company, your customers, and how you pay your bills. At this point and hereafter, you can click the Leave button in the lower left corner of the Easy Step interview screen to save your progress and return later to complete the Easy Step interview if needed. Once you're ready to continue, click the Next button. Next, for the Retail Shop or Online Commerce Industry selection, the Easy Step interview shows a screen called What Do You Sell? In this screen, you can select either Services Only, Products Only, or both Services and Products. The answer made here determines whether or not you need to set up inventory during the Easy Step interview. For this example, let's say that you sell both services and products. In that case, you would select that option button and then click the Next button to continue. The next screen then asks, how will you enter your sales in QuickBooks? The choices available here are to record each sale individually, record only a summary of your daily or weekly sales, or use QuickBooks Point of Sale. QuickBooks Point of Sale is a product package used to scan and track inventory for retail stores, but it is sold separately. The option to record daily or weekly transactions is often useful for stores which only want to enter a summary of sales made from a separate cash register into QuickBooks. The option to record each sale individually is useful for companies which wish to keep detailed transaction information within QuickBooks. This also allows you to print invoices and sales receipts for customers if needed. For the purpose of this example, we will select to record each sale individually. Once again, when finished with the screen, you can click the Next button to continue. The next screen asks, do you charge sales tax? The options are yes or no. Most retail businesses collect at least one sales tax, so we will answer yes for this example. This will enable sales tax for your company file. Once again, click the Next button once you've completed this screen and wish to continue. The next screen asks, do you want to create estimates in QuickBooks? Often these items are referred to as bids, proposals, or quotes in various industries. These are all called estimates in QuickBooks. For our example, we will select to answer yes. This enables the Estimates feature within QuickBooks. Then we will click Next to continue. The next screen is titled Using Statements in QuickBooks. This screen asks if we would like to send lists to customers that show the charges accumulated over a period of time. This then allows you to bill them for these charges in a separate billing statement. So to enable this feature for the example, we will click Yes, and then click the Next button to continue. The next screen, titled Using Progress Invoicing, asks if we will be using partial billing for larger projects. Once again, you can answer yes or no depending on your type of business. For this example, we'll select Yes and then click the Next button to continue. The next screen, titled Managing Bills You Owe, asks if you want to enable an accounts payable account to keep track of the bills that you owe. Most companies wish to track this information and would answer yes. We will select yes for this example and then click the Next button to continue. The next screen asks if you track inventory in QuickBooks. Now, inventory are items that are purchased from a vendor and resold to customers. If it is not an item which is bought from a vendor and resold to a customer, it may be easier to set it up as a non-inventory item in QuickBooks instead. When enabling inventory, QuickBooks will calculate the value of the inventory using the average costing method. You cannot use FIFO or LIFO costing methods in QuickBooks. However, for any items created as inventory items in QuickBooks, QuickBooks will calculate the average cost of inventory and keep count of how many are available. For this example, let's just answer yes and then click the Next button to continue. The next screen, titled Tracking Time in QuickBooks, asks if you wish to record the time worked by employees, owners, or subcontractors, which are set up as vendors in your vendor list. The recorded time can then be used in various ways shown in this screen, such as paying employees. For this example, we will answer yes and then click the Next button to continue. The next screen asks, do you have employees? You can select either the yes or no option as appropriate. If you select yes, then check the correct checkbox or checkboxes to indicate what type of employees you have. For this example, we will select yes and also check the We have W-2 employees and the We have 1099 contractors checkboxes. Then we'll click the Next button to continue. The next screen, titled Using Accounts in QuickBooks, allows you to read about the process of creating the chart of accounts used by your company file. This is when you will need your start date for your company file and the balances in your company's accounts as of the start date. When you have finished reading this information, click the Next button to continue. The next screen, titled Select a Date to Start Tracking Your Finances, allows you to enter the start date of your company file. You can select either the beginning of the fiscal year option or the Use Today's Date or the first day of the quarter or month. If you select the second option, then enter the start date into the date box shown or select the desired date from the calendar drop-down at the right end of that field. For this example, we will select the beginning of the fiscal year option. Once you've entered your start date, you can click the Next button to continue. The next screen, titled Review Income and Expense Accounts, allows you to review the income and expense accounts that were created by default for your industry selection. Recommended accounts appear with a check next to their names in this list, and you can click any unchecked account to add it to your company's chart of accounts, or you can uncheck a selected account to remove it if desired. It is generally recommended that you keep all of the recommended accounts. You can modify the accounts in your chart of accounts anytime after creating your company file, and using the recommended accounts will ensure that you have the basic accounts commonly required for a company in your selected industry. For this example, we will leave the accounts alone and simply click the Next button to continue. When you finished answering all of the questions in the Easy Step interview, you will see the final congratulations screen. When you are finished, just click the Go to Setup button to finish customizing and creating your company file. In the QuickBooks Setup window that appears, you will then be able to add the people that you do business with, add the products and services that you sell, and add any additional bank accounts. Also note, you can simply close this window and add these items directly to the customer list, the vendor and items list, and the chart of accounts as needed.
Like what you see? Pick up your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.t2comp.com/free.